Pleasant good morning, one and all. Very pleasant good morning to all the students of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Welcome to the Wednesday's episode, the midweek episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Today is Wednesday, the 18th day of June, 2025. Welcome, one and all. Hope you had a restful night. Hope you're looking forward to a productive week, a productive day, and the remainder of the week. So welcome. And you know the drill. We now you come on, share the live, give us the thumbs up. Let people know that we are on. Some people still need to be reminded. I don't know how, but some people still need to be reminded that we're on today, Wednesday, the 18th day of June. Another great day that the Lord has made. Let's rejoice and be glad in it. Let's give praise and thanks to be in the land of the living. It is a privilege, as I continue to say, to be in the land of the living, and that should not be taken for granted. So share the live. We're going to, as usual, by now I should not be saying this, but somehow I continue to say that we have lots to tell you. And today is no different. We have a lot to tell you this morning. So sit back, relax, take your vantage points, and we are going to bring you the credible, valuable information. And by now we have come to realize that the fact that we have so many students in the schoolyard, and then when the school door open, to see the number of students that are here is indicative of the fact that you're getting credible, valuable information. Had it not been so, I suspect the numbers would have been reducing. Instead of that, the numbers are going in the opposite direction. We continue to see large numbers of students, thousands of students on a daily basis, and we appreciate that, and that motivates us to make sure that we do our research and we bring you the proper information. We teach you. Many people have said, continue to say, they found this program to be so educational. People in the legal field have reached out and have said the same. So yes, we have experience. We have both my colleague who is already in the studio and I. We have lots and lots of law enforcement experience, and we think that we should share it to you. Even though people might criticize the style, people might criticize the method, and we explain to you the reason why. Because we are being declared persona non grata. Police, the senior commander of the police and the government, they want to see us nowhere near to the police. Even though we have so much to give, they don't want us to be there. They don't want the truth to be told. They don't want the ranks to learn. And therefore, ranks have decided, many ranks, including senior one, have decided, notwithstanding what they say, they're going to make sure that they listen and they learn. Those who are afraid to listen the live program, they do so afterwards. Because remember, once the program has ended, once the live broadcast has ended, this is going to be on Facebook, on YouTube, and you can go and you can listen. So share the live. Class was scheduled, or the gates were open at 7 o'clock this morning on the dot. And I continue to be amazed. I don't know how you all doing it, but as soon as the gates are open, students are in the schoolyard. This morning we had a large number. As soon as the padlock come off and the gate open, a large number of students rushed into the schoolyard. And when we went live, when the doors are open, they come in again. And I say to you, people are on YouTube are able to come into the schoolyard as soon as the program is scheduled, YouTube. The ones who are on Facebook have to wait until we go live. And we have been encouraging you to gravitate or to migrate to YouTube, because Facebook can be a problem. The jacobats will call and they will complain. They say things, complain about the program, and sometimes without even any proper investigation, Facebook can knock you off. So YouTube is the place to go. YouTube. And we know, let me see the numbers here. We know that YouTube, of the almost 600 students we have, 70 something are on Facebook, and the remainder are on YouTube. So gravitate to YouTube, and they can't knock you out of YouTube like that. They can interfere with the signal from time to time, as they have done, but they can't knock you out. As I indicated, my colleague is already here. Lots and lots of stuff to tell you this morning. Again, we should not be saying that because it becomes redundant, but it's good to remind you. 7 o'clock program schedule. A lot of students rushed in. So we're going to fly through as quickly as I can the roll call, and then announcements, and then we're going to get on with it. We're going to get on with it. First morning, Jackie at 7. Well, I have said to you that several persons will come in at the same time, but this is the order in which they are listed. 7 o'clock this morning is Jackie, then Ezzy, Peter, Wayne from the UK, Moses, Sean from upstate New York, Winston from California, Lucius from Maryland and Guyana, Barbara, Vibert, 1966 Lawson, Paulette, Tessa from Florida, Claudius, the Canon Rookman, then we had Claire, Selwyn, Lennox, Pastor Smith came at 7 as well, 9339, Desiree from Georgia, Carl came in at 7, then Carol, Brennan, you make it early today, boy. Brennan came in at 7 as well, Pauline, Joan from New Amsterdam is here at 7. They all came at 7, all those students that I just called, and shortly after at 7:01, Paulette, the Angel, John, Patricia, Aubrey from Canada, Harold, Carlton, Raul, Puran from Essequibo Coast. Then it was Pamela from West Ham, Brian, Ulrich, West Ham man, Winslow, Morton, Rosalind, Marcia. Then it was Courtney, Roxanne, Benji from Myconi. Benji came in at 7:02. And then the students started to come. Then it was Clifton again there, Oral, Courtney, Aileen, Dexter, Derek, Earl, then Gibbo, Father Masha, followed by Keith from Barbados, Sydney, Marvin, Emerson, Alvin. Can't recall seeing this student in the classroom in the schoolyard before. Then it was Bernadette, Terrence, then Kingman is here again, Evelyn, Grantley, Esla, Jermaine, Floyd, George, my countryman, Kenneth from Maryland, Anthony Petersall in the East Bank, Denise from Florida, Raquel, Fergus, Bonita, Patrick from the UK, but he's in Guyana. He lives in the UK. He's holidaying, I guess, in Guyana. Then we have the secretary, Denise is there, Lyndon, Malcolm, Uncle Paul, Compton, Cecile, Pinky, Ricky Smith, Marcus, Russ, Ricardo, Lynette from the UK, Hazel, Aubrey is here with us, Francis Keith from Melanie is here, Marva. Then it was Michael Brower, 14126 Brower is here with us, Rhonda, and this is Rhonda Chance, Gavin, Felicia. Then it was Clive from the UK, Valerie, Heather is here with us, Colin, Umi is here as usual, Junior, Siobhan, Mali, Brenda, Mark, Wayne is here, Kellan, Michael from Imbai Madai, Clarence, Claude, Anthony, Glendis, Abira, Clay. Then it was Vibert from the East Bank, Janella, Paul, Selwyn, this is Selwyn Smith, Orin from the UK, Dennis, I think you're still in Barbados, Dennis, Ashley, Magnell, Gloria, Neville, William, Lorraine, David is here, Charlene is here with us, Salima, Kevin, Kurt, Mary, YouTuber, 17257, he says his number was. Then it was Sheena, Sagi, Steven, 9602 is here, Vashti, Annette, Simo, 0539, old cricket day. Well, I said old, former cricketer. I said old, he might think I'm referring to his age. Paul, my namesake, is here. Gordon, Lennox, Vibert, Smitty, 7464, Smith is here. Cheryl, Maureen, Cloyd, Deborah, Leon, Marvin, Samo, got the old the fast bowler. Samo is here with us. Then it was Deborah, Elroy, thanks to the contribution. Princess Earl is here. Pito, Diane, then it was Rastaman, Isabella, Lyndon, Allison, Carlisle, Carl, my squad mate from Arizona, Mary, Jacko, hope you had a wonderful birthday, Jacko, Melinda, Sharon, Rayburn, Kerry, BG is here, then is the next Vibert, Magnell, Donald, Grace is here with us. Clayton. Danny is here. Dorette and Ivor. Denzel. Yonette. Then it was, after Yonette, it was Maxwell. 11704. Christy Jack. Mark. Lennox. Ian G. Wonder if it's Ian G that I know from Bob. Actually from Bobby's. Then it was Queenie. Stella. Then it was Alwyn, Lorraine, Asani, George, Clifton from the UK, from Paris. Saying UK, Clifton from Paris, Karen, then Tuana, Rhonda, watch it. Rhonda says she's in Barbados, in Antigua. She's in Antigua. This is a long vacation, Rhonda, on vacation in Barbados. I think it's vacation. She says so she's here for a long time now. Normally from Denhamstel, Tessa, Boo, Michael, Grantley, Charles, Sandrine, Marlon, Chilo, Evelina, Sion, Norbert, Cedric, Danny 8219, Trevor, Ovid, Vorlin. Then we have Terrell, Dion, Junior, Joseph, Orin. Then it was Basil, and Basil say he's from Spain. So I guess it's not Basil when you're in Spain. It's Basil, or isn't that the way it is pronounced over there? But he's all the way in Spain. Then we have Raul, Sherwin, Phil, Bray, Nigel, Terrence TK from California, Johnny. Oh yeah, Johnny 10891. And I remember Johnny. Orville, Doreen from Canada, Roy, Clay, Orin, Mark, George. George said, he come back morning, ex-corporal 8265. One of the better barroom liars back in the day, 8225, Richardson. Barroom liar, Ian Morgan, 41 was Morgan, I can't remember, Morgan the pirate. They were barroom liars. Those young police, if you don't know who or what is a barroom liar, must find out. George was one of those. Jam, Gladwin, Hope, Delan, then it was Lennox, Paulette came back, John is there. Then it was when we went live, George was the last in the schoolyard, and then Edward, always, well, most times he's there early. Abu from Essequibo Coast, Dion, these are people who came in from Facebook. Joyce Prince. Then we have Carlton Popo. He always there very early. Then who else we had? Allison and lots of people. Morlin, Sister Trifosa is here, and the list goes on and on and on. Yeah? They don't get a song by the name. Several different songs by the name, on and on. Right? So we going on. So that's it. We can't keep calling names all the time. We're giving people a chance to come in. Well, we're up to 900 now. And for the announcements, we told you about the death. I got to repeat the arrangement for the funeral of Springer, right? I think last night there was to be a wake at the Police Sports Club. Tonight, Wednesday the 18th, should be a wake at Teachers Union Hall from 7 p.m. And the funeral is on Friday, they said June the 20th. Viewing between 9:30 and 10:30 at Merriman's Funeral Home, Lyman Ben Street. Then the service will be at the St. James the Les Church in David Street, Kitty. Tributes between 11 and 12. Service thereafter. Then it's to number 42 Village West Coast, Barbados for burial. That's the arrangement for Tracy Springer, Lance Corporal 25612. We used to call him Black Boy. He had complexion like me, or perhaps even darker. We used to call him Black Boy. And then I wish to, we talk about the death stalking the land. It was reported a few days ago that some 17-year-old girl found, I think in Region 9, suspected to be some fatal accident. Either something struck her or she crashed and she died. Death is stalking the land. And you have to be extremely, extremely careful, right? Now, then don't forget the death anniversary, or not anniversary, 460 days since Sergeant Alex Vaughn was shot and killed. 460 days today. We're going to keep reminding them. They talk about transparency, and this is a matter where a police sergeant is shot and killed, they say, on duty. And up to now, apart from the initial report, where they said some rank who shot him accidentally was under close arrest. Well, I guess he was still under close arrest because we have not heard anything further since then. I have not heard anything further since then, and I've been monitoring. I've been keeping my ears to the ground. 460 days today. 460 days. Then we have, I need to tell you about a particular incident, but I think we're gonna wait, and then when we come back, we're gonna deal with that. I'm talking about the death of these lawmakers in Minnesota, right? USA. But before we go into that, let me go to the birthday greetings. We don't have any listed for today. We had some recently, and I noted that we have a birthday in the near future. I don't know if he's a fan, but I thought I'll mention it. Samuel Roberts, the son of the late great Skip Roberts. He's celebrating a birthday in the next 2 days, tomorrow, or I think the following day. So I think it's appropriate that we should wish him advance birthday greetings. And I want to congratulate the new commissioner of police in Trinidad and Tobago. I think he's to be sworn in today. A senior superintendent, I think he was. The name is Alistair Guevara. I think it's Guevara it is pronounced. He is going to be sworn in as Trinidad and Tobago new commissioner of police. Right? He ain't got no extension. I think the man was a senior superintendent, and the man got bipartisan support. Both sides, both parties, the major parties in parliament, supported his nomination. Their system is different to Guyana. Guyana is the president, following consultation with the leader of the opposition and with the chairman of the Police Service Commission. But Trinidad has a different system of appointing. At the end of the day, it goes to cabinet, it goes to parliament for a debate. And based on what I saw, everybody agreed that they sang the praises of this man. So therefore, he is to be appointed. I think they said that he's to be sworn in today as the new commissioner of police. So congratulations to him. Congratulations. Wonder when we squatted and moved so that somebody else can get the work. You get an incompetent man there as commissioner of police, and somehow they're keeping it there forever and ever. Amen. But, at some time, he has to go. He has to go. Can't be there forever, even if his job decide to call him, say, come, son, come. He has to go at some stage, right? But they're going to delay it for whatever reason. They're going to delay it. So once again, congratulations to the new commissioner of police. I don't know him, even though I worked in Trinidad for many, many years. I knew many of the senior people there. I didn't know this Alistair Guevara. I understand he might have been in the intelligence area. And them intelligence area in them countries is like Guyana, where the intelligence unit people making arrests and going and doing all sort of thing. When you're there in the intelligence unit, you're deep undercover and do your work from there. But not in Guyana. Not in Guyana. Guyana, you special branch people arresting and shooting 88 bullet at car and killing man on the East Coast, and the head of the special branch trailing Brutus. And that is where you find happening in Guyana. Different place, not a real place, different place. So congratulations to him. I want to shout out to a fan who is here every day. I'm talking about Faye Joseph. She lives abroad. She's now, I think, holidaying in Guyana. And I think it's appropriate for me to shout her out to say, welcome to Guyana. Be safe and hope you enjoy your stay. No matter how long or short it is, hope you enjoy your stay. Make sure you are safe. Above all, make sure that you are safe. Right? Let me bring in Mr. Conway, and then we're going to move on. CC, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be in the land of the living to do God's work. It's a privilege. And I saw a bit of the new commissioner in Trinidad and Tobago. And he made he quoted something. He said, the heights by great men reaching Cape were not attained by sudden flight, but they when their companions slept or toiling upwards through the night. I remember that as a little boy going to school, and I felt so good when he used that quotation at the ceremony that he had here. And he had to be special to bypass some senior superintendent, to bypass all them assistant commissioners, to bypass all them deputy commissioners to become commissioner. And we looking forward for the day when the extended squatter would be no more, and we have a proper commissioner of police.
Well, the thing, even though we say bypass those persons, it would appear as though, I don't know, the gentleman has said, highly qualified. And in the meritorious system, that is what you expect. Shouldn't be because you're there and because the politicians like you. Because based on what we have read, this man is highly qualified. And to get bipartisan support, both parties in parliament spoke highly of him. Highly of the man. Not so in Guyana. We have a man in Guyana who people, the opposition had said, should not be appointed for several reasons, valid reasons, including the fact that he had passed the age of retirement. But notwithstanding that, they said that the Attorney General advised them that there's nothing wrong with appointing him after the age of retirement, creating history in Guyana. Never happened before. Never happened before. Man who is unqualified, academically and otherwise. And therefore, you have got to ask why. And we are seeing why. Because with all that is going on, this man can't face up to the Guyanese public. That is the type of disrespect is shown. Can't face the media, can't face the Guyanese public and answer questions in respect to the death of the men at Linden. Adriana Young, police killing man at Maikoni, nothing. Can't face up. When he comes out, we get he lying. Can't help it. In the DNA, he lies. Right? Then what you see the other day, perhaps found is Israel calling. We see cleaning up with a fan rake, cleaning up around the seawall. That is what the commissioner of police. Because at the end of the day, he's commissioner of police. At the end of the day, he's commissioner of police. What it look like is a pack of dunces. So that is what you have. That is what you have. Now let me move on. We're going to talk about him some more because there are so many issues in the force that we're going to cover. And at the end of the day, you got to say you can't exclude the man who heading the organization. Andrew said you can't hear. Check your system, Andrew. Check your system because I'm sure everybody else said hearing. Yeah, Junior, the wedding planner. We're going to talk about it some more. Man who sits in his office, collect $8.5 million from a businessman to plan a wedding. Wrote that in a statement. That is not an allegation. That is what he wrote in a statement. 8.5. I said it's misconduct in public office. The vice president said as much, right? Misconduct in public office. And what we have, that is what we have. Yeah, that is what we have. Yeah, Patricia and others. So the person who's saying that they can't hear Andrew, check your system because the students are saying that they're hearing loud and clear. And my system at this moment is saying so. Now let me show you all this offensive picture. Y'all remember this picture? This person you see here under the umbrella. And the person holding the umbrella is not James Bond. So they get enough umbrella people in Guyana. Look what we've seen here. Umbrella, this is Gerald Govaya, the National Security Advisor. This is the commander of Police Region 3, Sunarine. And Jerry Govaya inspecting a parade, police ranks, which should never happen in the first place. But he's inspecting, he's there with his hands folded in front with the umbrella. Man stand up with the umbrella over you. And in this picture, you see the man here is Deputy Commissioner Watts, the man with the scar shoot and scoot. They're encouraging this lawlessness. Look, Jerry Govaya inspecting police ranks. Unfolded, flanked by Watts, Sinarine. Get some African Guyanese, have a call it what it is, or a black man holding an umbrella over here. This thing is so offensive. But you know, somebody said to me, they said, Skipper Dainal, Jerry Govaya, this is what is alleged. Jerry Govaya has a aide de camp, ADC. Police just call it a personal assistant, but he has an ADC from the army. And I was advised, I was informed that the rank of Jerry Govaya's ADC is that of a lieutenant or a lieutenant colonel. A lieutenant colonel is the ADC to Gerald Govaya, the National Security Advisor, right? And I want to let you know, put it in some perspective, the person who is, or the officer who's the ADC to the president also has the same rank, Lieutenant Colonel. I was advised that the chief of staff or the chief of defense staff, as they now call it, has a rank junior, a rank of a junior level as the ADC. But Jerry Govaya as an aide de camp, ADC, who is a lieutenant colonel. You think that is a real place? First of all, Jerry Govaya is the national security advisor and entitled to be inspected, no police. He entitled to no salute. We see the man saluting here. And the Fosada, Guyana Police Force Fosada, speaks to who should be entitled to salute. Yeah, some civilian or people in civilian position, but not Jerry Govaya. But then you get the commandant, the Mr. Shoot and Scoot, not Shoot and Scoot, Mr. Tribal Union, Errol Watts, Deputy Commissioner, standing there and allowing this travesty with the African Guyanese police, black Guyanese police, right? Umbrella over Jerry Govaya inspecting a parade. Look, this thing is so damn offensive. It is so offensive. And you know that brings me into the next point. I'll come back to it. Gosh, well, let me bring in CC for him to obviously on that before I go on. CC, I sure you want to say something about that. Jerry Govaya, we got to keep showing people inspecting police, the deputy commissioner, the assistant commissioner flanking me, and you got a man, a black man, stand holding an umbrella over here. This is Bakra time. This is back to slavery days. What are your views, my brother?
I agree with you. More than Bakra time there. And then you get a bridesmaid, a deputy commissioner, Errol Watts, will be with him there, you know. And all I got to look at standing at number 14, telling you in terms of paying of compliments. This thing is ridiculous or it's reprehensible. Jerry Govaya's role is an advisory role. Now he get deeply involved in operations. He go into stations, they got parade, got come out, call out on him, and people saluted him, and all he do, fall on. And he used to mention, get a black man with an umbrella over here, and then he wearing the PPP hat, the red hat, you know. I can't find words to describe, but that's going to happen when you have a conformed squatter. A squatter who can't take it. You think I could be a commander Jerry Govaya come? No way. Can't even come in no compound. His role is advisory, to advise, not operation. And that's what Jerry Govaya is doing. Watch it there. Look, he with the PPP hat he wearing there. And then they get it, the nigger, the black man holding an umbrella over here there. And then he get the bridesmaid, a deputy commissioner, bridesmaid, walking really all about the goddamn place, man. Ridiculous, Paul, ridiculous.
Ridiculous is, as me, old inspector, is a nonsense. Nonsense. How people can respect the police? I could understand the ranks who are there with the discipline and all that. They can't refuse to go. Back in me day, that happening. And even if you were told to go, people would have visited Dr. Wharton. They would have visited Dr. Wharton. We're not allowing them nonsense to happen, right? We were not going to allow that to happen. You know? And again, I say the picture is so bloody offensive to see this Portuguese-looking man, a man closer to Caucasian than to black, standing up there, police officers saluting, he had entitled to no salute, full yarn in front. They say he was something in the army. I guess he never did basic training. Full yarn, right? Assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner flanking him, and a black man stand up over here holding umbrella over here. Black man. And somebody on one of the programs I talked about rank and all that. Let me understand this thing clear. In the army, as I know it, if you retire as a senior officer from major up, then you retain they will call you by your rank. Because you're a senior officer. Not no, Jerry revised as a captain. So therefore, you can't even address you as if you're captain, you gotta be an A-line captain, because I think he's a pilot or a pilot. Not in terms of the rank in the army. Not entitled to that. And then to hear that this man who retired as a captain, they say whether it's an A-line captain or a three pipper in the army, he got a lieutenant colonel as its ADC. as his ADC, walking around with in other words, as his personal assistant. That is what they're saying. That is what is being reported. I want to come out and debunk it, man. Let it refute it. Because I get the evidence. We don't come and talk things unless we get the evidence. And let me make this point here too, as we move on the program. Tomorrow, June 19th, is known in the U.S. It's a public holiday in the U.S. I don't just call it public holiday in the U.S. in respect of Juneteenth. June the 19th, Juneteenth is a holiday in the U.S. Let me tell you all what it's all about, because many people might not know what Juneteenth means. Well, if you're working and you get a holiday, you know you're going to stay home. But it's a significant holiday for us Black people. And this is not talking race, this is talking facts and history. Juneteenth is a significant holiday in the United States. So let me refer to it, right? It's also known as Emancipation Day, or it's also known as Juneteenth Independence Day. So my Black brothers, and all who are in the studio, whether they're Black or not, listen and learn, right? Because they say the Emancipation Proclamation became official on January 1, 1863, there in the U.S. Significant. January 1, 1863 is when the Emancipation Proclamation, right, became official. And at that time, they had over 3 million Black people in slavery. So that Emancipation Proclamation freed the slave. 1st of January, 1863. Very significant because slavery was abolished in Guyana on the 1st of August, 1838. So long before slavery was abolished in the United States, slavery was abolished in Guyana. But what happened? How Juneteenth became significant? It said it was not until the 19th of June, 1865, almost 2 years after, right, that the people in Texas, Galveston, Texas, where a major general by the name of Gordon Granger, on the 19th of June, 1865, that is when they learned, he read the proclamation to the slaves in Texas, almost 2 years after slavery was officially abolished on the 1st of January, 1863. It was not until the 19th of June, 1865, that the people in Texas knew or were granted their freedom. So in 2021, to be exact, on June 17, 2021, President Biden signed a bill making the day known as Juneteenth a national holiday. Because for the conscious Black people, they always knew this about Juneteenth, but it was not a national holiday until the 21st, until 2021, when Joe Biden signed this bill making Juneteenth a national holiday. And I suspect how things going, we're going to hear that and go off the books maybe soon. I don't know what's the process to remove it, but it might very well be removed. So therefore, I think it's important that we know that tomorrow, June the 19th, a significant day for Black people in the United States in particular. So I thought we'll share that little history with you, right? And again, imagine slavery was abolished in Guyana on the 1st of August, 1838. God has said it should have taken effect from 1834, but then what happened is that they had this, what they call the apprentice period between 1834 and 1838, right? 1838, slavery abolished in Guyana, and slavery was still not until 1863 before the Emancipation Proclamation was read in the States. And the one person reminded me, and it's because of that arrangement, they had the Civil War, where the Union soldiers fought against the Confederates. Big civil war in the U.S. over slavery, because the people down south saw slaves as property. And when you had the emancipation, they believed that property was, they were being deprived of property. And therefore they went to war, the North versus the South in the U.S. Civil War over slavery. And yet still you get some Black people who are not conscious of the history telling you all sort of things. And I guess we are to be blamed because we're not teaching them what is the history of this thing. And I attended a session at the United Nations last year, December, sorry, when they were talking about reparations, Mr. President, reparations, right? And it was revealed that the slave owners were compensated for losing the slaves. And the slaves who toiled without pay, they were never compensated, right? So the people who committed the most atrocious crime in the history of mankind, slavery, they were compensated for losing their property, slaves. But the slaves who toiled relentlessly without any just reward, up to now, not compensated. Not compensated. And so therefore, again, it's reprehensible and it's offensive when you see those who are still in mental slavery, like the agent 007 and them, running up to massa up today like today. I know, let me say this before I bring in Mr. Conway. It is said that the transatlantic slave trade, lasted for about 500 years, 400 plus years. Transatlantic slave trade. And when you reflect on how some black people still behaving, we could understand why we were kept in bondage. Our foreparents were kept in bondage for such a long time. Because there was no unity, there was no cooperation. And we've seen it is evident up to day like today. No unity and no cooperation. So there's how Bakra, the white man, kept us enslaved for that length of time. I'm bringing CC. CC, your views.
Well, I don't like to go back too much to it, but it's inhumane treatment, slavery, and I don't like to go back to it because I get upset when I read about it and when I hear about it, how they treated black people, how the white men treated the black people as their property, and the kind of inhumane treatment that they got. So let me move on.
Yeah, and then before we move, CC, you got to mention that in recent times, people attempted to rewrite history to tell us that indentureship was just as bad as slavery or some crap like that. I heard people in the government saying. Nothing. There's not been a crime against humanity like the slave trade. They have not checked your history. And to suggest that indentureship may be similar is well, if you come from certain universities, you can perhaps make the point. It's I don't like to dwell on it, but as I've said with Juneteenth, a lot of people are going to hear Juneteenth, they don't know the significance, and therefore I thought it important for me to come and tell you what this thing is about tomorrow. So when people celebrate Juneteenth, it's something to be celebrated and to reflect on where we come from, to reflect. Because again, at the UN, people tell you, Peter Tosh, I think, sang it, no matter where you come from, as long as you're a black man, you're an African. That's a Peter Tosh. As long as you're a black man, no matter your nationality. Well, I got to say now that if you look carefully now, all black men, because you got white men are Africans too. Because the white South Africans, the people from Zimbabwe and formerly Rhodesia and all them, we got a lot of white men, but they're born on the continent of Africa. So therefore, it's significant that as long as you are a black man, you are an African, right? And again, my brothers, I know we get people of other ethnicities here. We ain't talking race. We talking history. We talking facts. Now, let me move on. Now, Sean, now maybe I wasn't, they get, I lived in Namibia for almost a year, right? So yeah, they too have white people there, but they're from the continent of Africa, so they're Africans, right? If you want to call it that, where you're born, if it's where you're born, yes, you are a African, right? Yeah, Dudley, how you mean? I must know my music. I from you era, I from your era. Now, I alluded earlier to the assassination of two Democratic lawmakers in Minnesota over the last weekend there. The lawmaker and her husband, and then we're learning now that this assassin had the list to kill more people, more Democratic, what they call these liberal politicians. A white man, I see they arrest you in labor time. he was arrested. That is how the system works. He was quickly arrested. Think he charged and all of that. Arrested and charged. Police did what they got to do. Statement. People came out and gave a statement as to what transpired and how they're treating it and all of that. We get a commissioner that he can't talk, cat bite his tongue, or cat eat out his tongue, can't talk. The people came and they made statements, real reprehensible, assassinate these people all because of the politics. And I want to make this point. I'm not being sensational and so on. In this political season that we have in Guyana, I am urging the politicians, especially those on the opposition benches, their supporters, right, to be extremely, extremely careful. Because you have a lot of deranged, PPP in particular, has a lot of deranged supporters, and they're armed to the teeth. AR-15 rifles against security companies. You all be extremely, extremely careful. I am warning the politicians. Be extremely, especially the opposition politicians. Be extremely, extremely careful, right? And you got some of them, these supporters of the PPP, they are guilty of projecting. They project. I'm going to explain to you what I mean by that a while ago. I say I am not an alarmist. People know me well. I don't alarm people, right? But the environment is very toxic, environment in Guyana. And it's likely to get even more toxic the closer you get to election. And people are desperate. People are desperate to hang on to power at all costs. They are desperate to hang on to power at all costs. And let me tell you this. When I say people are projecting, a few weeks or a few months back, there was an article, I must say, Guyana Daily News, that violent opposition propaganda sheet, Guyana Daily News. You know what it said? It said, and this is a projection I'm talking about. It says, wanted men back in Guyana contracted to kill Amir Ahmad and senior PPP official. That is what the headline said. Who is Amir Ahmad? Is a principal, you know, is he place of the sheriff network, hospital, security, housing, bill, contracting, that same man, right? They say this is what it is alleged that he owns or he operates or he has influence over Guyana Daily News. This is something he has denied. But I think the evidence will suggest otherwise. Hear what the article says. I'm going to read it to you so you can understand. At least I'm going to read part. According to information shared with Guyana Daily News, wanted men Dominique Darrell Osborne and Karen Hines are currently in Guyana and have been allegedly contracted to execute businessman Amir Ahmad and a senior PPP official. This article, when it was published, carried the picture or the photograph of these two persons, Dominique Darrell Osborne and Karen Hines. It is, I'll continue to read, it is alleged that the duo was hired by Azuddin Mohammed. It is also alleged that the two wanted men and several Venezuelan nationals who was, this is what it's saying, so y'all don't tell me bad grammar. It says here that the two wanted men and several Venezuelan nationals who was, that is what they say, who was hired to kill the senior politicians and Amir, are being harbored by Mohammed and was given illegal guns and access to unlimited funds to execute the men. Amir and the senior government officials, after being tipped off by sources close to Mohammed, have since beefed up their security. Early on Saturday, the men attacked and slashed the neck of Riyad Ahmad, brother of Amir, and told him that it was a warning from Mohammed. Just yesterday, Mohammed, while responding to the Vice President, Dr. Barak Jagdeo, he admitted in a video publicly, that his employees are thugs. Hear the lies, hear the lies. I want you all to understand what we're talking about. Projecting, you know. Several years ago, Mohammed shot and killed a 14-year-old Ryan Prasad. His wife, Nadia Mohammed, just in 2022, dug down and killed a mother of 6 at Nelson Mandela Avenue. Amir, when contacted by Guyana Daily News, said he is not afraid of Mohammed. Quote, I'm not afraid of Mohammed and his thugs. If we are born, we have to die. If the Mohammeds kill me, I will be a martyr. When he faces Allah, he will have to answer for his crimes. When my brother said he was attacked by men who said Mohammed sent him, I did not go after them because I cannot be intimidated. I have clients to protect, and that is my focus. Like I said, if Mohammed wants to kill me, he left him to go ahead. We are all born to die someday, but I will be a martyr if they kill me. If they want to burn my car, burn my building, and whatever it is they want to do. That is what it's saying. They are free to do so, but I will not be afraid. I can guarantee you tomorrow, he and his family will say that we are, or I am mentally disturbed, and change the subject, Amir said. You see what I tell you about projection? You see what I tell you all about projection? Projecting that people want to kill Amir Ahmad and some PPP politician who is not named, and then they're putting the blame on Asruddin. That is Guyana Daily News, you know. I'll get it in the record. Guyana Daily News came out. I don't have the exact date, but it's there. You can look to find it. They are projecting. That is why I am cautioning the opposition politicians, and even if you're not a politician, you are a supporter, to be extremely, extremely careful. Because when you see the rantings of these people and you to know the type of armory and arsenal that they have, it is a worrying thing. Say you're not afraid and all. They just projecting. He's just projecting. But I thought it important to warn you, the people. Let me bring in Mr. Conway to make his commentary, and then we're going to move on. CC.
Yeah, we got to face reality, And the thing is that you mentioned about projections, people projecting, and then they're going to blame it on other people. Just like how the Venezuelans doing things and they send the syndicatos. Things wouldn't be easy. Coming down to the election time, it's going to heat up. And I wouldn't rule out at this stage violence and things that will happen. That therefore people got to try to protect themselves. The opposition has got to protect themselves. They got to put certain measures in place to ensure they survive. But things are likely to happen. They're done projecting, and they're going to blame it on other people.
You know, the last, in 2015, can't remember, it's 2015, they killed Cromwell when Cromwell was protesting against the same PPP government at the time. They shot and killed him around the election. And then in the same 2015, I was asked to lend assistance, security knowledge and experience to the then coalition, which I did. Assist them in organizing their rallies, make sure that proper security arrangements were in place. We even went so far to acquire, or we sought to acquire what we call ballistic vests, bulletproof vests for some leading politicians. I am saying this to say to them, you have got to be extremely careful and make sure you get proper protection. You have got to get proper protection. Imagine in this article, they're talking about burning. The man says something about burning, killing, and all of that. Who will forget when the issue came up with the drone and the GRA people went that Saturday to seize vehicles from the Mohammeds? You ever forget that? A few days after, the vehicle owned by the barber, the man who cuts the Mohammed's ear, was set alight. And I understand the community where this man lived, this barber lived, was a gated community. And it is said that the people who were guarding there were people from the same sheriff security. And yet still people were able to get in there and set that man's vehicle alight. And then the same Guyana Daily News, I read the article, came out shortly after and said that the blaming the man's wife, because they claim she caught him with some sweet woman, and that is why and alluding or alleging that she might have been the one to have set the car afire. When video evidence showed, CCTV footage that there was one or two men in some vehicle made several attempts to run till eventually the vehicle caught fire. So they said they're projecting. They are projecting but vehicles of fire and people to be hired assassins. I understand that the men who they claim were not even in Guyana or are still not even in Guyana. This Dominique Darrell Osborne and Karen Hines that they call. That is what they are doing. That is what they will continue to do. Especially this Guyana Daily News. Guyana Daily News. They are doing things, and as we said, it is alleged that Amir Ahmad is linked to Guyana Daily News. And therefore, Amir Ahmad, the same man who Ikinse gave him $8.5 million to finance Brutus' wedding. The man has bought immunity, nothing can happen to you. So he could write and they could write and he can say whatever he wants to say. Nothing is likely to happen to him. Let me move on to address a subject that I spoke about. A student had asked about the driver's license and whether you should have it with you. And we explained on the last program, I'm not going to go back into that, that yes, you have to drive with your driver's license. And when we talk about being an unlicensed driver, one of the students reminded me, and I thank him for that, that if you were never issued with a driver's license and you're caught driving a motor vehicle, in addition to being an unlicensed driver, you'd also be in breach of the insurance. So you're unlicensed driver, breach of the insurance. Whereas if you were issued with a driver's license and it has expired, then that is not considered a breach of the insurance, just that your license expires. So we got to keep reminding you, you do your research and update you on these issues, right? So remember that. Remember that. You have to have your driver's license with you at all times. That is the law. That is the law. You have to have your driver's license with you at all times. So don't come to tell the police, well, you're going to produce at something. No. Driver's license, you have to have it with you. The only document that I can remember you get time to produce is your insurance. You have 5 days to produce your insurance. And here, when we talk about production, education again, when we talk about production, you can produce at any police station. So if, for example, you live in Borbies and you're driving, let's say on the East Bank, and you're stopped by the police, and for some reason you have to produce your insurance, you're going to come back to Grove or Diamond or wherever. The nearest police station to where you live, you can take it there, and to the traffic department, you produce this. Supposed to have a system in place to record it and send the information to the correct station. So just informing you. Now let me move to the next matter. Let me move to this next matter. Baby Scalo. We told you Baby Scalo came out with some words. I didn't even call it a song. Right? Where he talked about Mother Lakshmi, the Hindu goddess, in very derogatory terms and so on. Very, very distasteful. You can't deny that. Very distasteful. Right? All right. The ERC got involved. That's the Ethnic Relation Commission, which is chaired by Mr. Hack, the husband of the DPP. Right? He chairs. And they say they're going to refer it for discipline action. I'm going to read the thing, so they're going to say that I'm making up anything. Right? Now, Baby Scalo appeared before the magistrate Judy Latchman at the Diamond Magistrate Court sometime last week, Thursday or Friday, I think it was. And he was remanded to prison on that charge. Well, a lot of people came out and said that that was disproportionate. The man remanded, he was charged for blasphemous libel. In other words, he libeling the deity, the goddess, charged for blasphemous libel, remanded to prison. Now, yesterday, Baby Scalo was, they went to the High Court and he is granted bail, $45,000 bail, and I guess by now the bail was posted and he is out on bail. Well, I want to read certain things so that we understand what's going on, right? So when this thing happened, Priya Manik Chan, imagine Feral Blast, came out along with some other lawyers, and they said they slammed the court. Everybody think Manik Chan, other lawyers slammed courts, the excessive decision to remand Baby Skello. That came out. Or as the big man said, they came in out. And let me read quickly what is said here. It says, Minister of Education and Attorney at Law, Priya Manik Chan, has publicly condemned the court's decision to remand Daniel Wharton, popularly known as Baby Skello, after he was charged with blasphemous libel. Wharton, who sang a vulgar and distasteful song about the Hindu goddess Lakshmi, appeared before Magistrate Judy Lachman at the Diamond Magistrate Court on Friday, this last Friday, where he was remanded to prison until July the 1st. The Ethnic Relations Commission condemned the song, following a public outcry from the Hindu community and other sections of society, and called for disciplinary action to be taken. Minister Manik Chan took to our personal social media page on Friday to express her disapproval, describing the court's decision as inconsistent and misplaced, particularly in contrast to how more serious matters are handled. Quote, the bench needs to be consistent and sensible in its application of the law. We are jailing someone for mumbling or trying to sing something offensive against a female goddess, which was terrible and should never be encouraged or listened to, and which I personally condemn, but the court is failing to address speedily domestic violence matters where women and they are at the mercy of the court, failing to address matters of cyberbullying where women nude pictures or nude photographs are published online without their consent, and other truly egregious crimes against women. I truly hope he, as a lawyer, who will have this odd decision reversed at the High Court. End of quote. That's what the minister said. Echoing the minister's stance, attorney says Gonraj, who sits as a commissioner on the, well, they didn't say that, but who sits as a PPP commissioner on the Guyana Election Commission, GCOM, also expressed concern over the decision to remand Wharton. Quote, the remand of Baby Skello is unnecessary and excessive. His attempt at music was undoubtedly blasphemous and disrespectful, but refusal of bail ought not to be used as a penalty, Gonrad said. Attorney at Law Dexter Todd also criticized the ruling, questioning the rationale. Quote, why would a person be remanded for such a charge? What is really going on in this country? End of quote, he asked. Similarly, Attorney Ronald Daniels also took to his personal Facebook page condemning the action taken against Wharton. He argued that the decision to remand Wharton speaks more to the arbitrary use of institutional power than to a sincere effort at justice. Quote, we cannot rectify, repair, or mitigate this by selectively punishing one sinner, while we cast a blind eye and deaf ears to all the other angels and advocates of the devil, end of quote. That's what he said. Daniels also questioned the relevance of the blasphemous libel charge itself, noting that the offense has colonial roots aimed at protecting Christianity in a now outdated system where church and state were intertwined. Quote, the English society has long abandoned blasphemous libel. We hold on to it with a vice grip to that which our colonial masters have long let go, end of quote. On the legal matter of bail, Daniels was clear. The denial was unjustified. Quote, there is hardly any basis upon which Skello should have been remanded into custody. Bail should have been granted, end of quote. While Daniels made it clear he does not support or endorse Skello's music, he maintained that justice must be fair and balanced. Quote, I hold no brief for Skello. However, I am firmly against the selective pursuit of justice and abuse of institutional power, which this matter reeks of, end of quote. The court's decision has also drawn widespread criticism from the public, particularly on social media platforms. Many users expressed outrage and disbelief over the severity of the action taken against Wharton. And then it ends there. Now, that's not the end of it. That's not the end of it. On day before yesterday, I think it was, Michael Rodriguez, known as Guyanese critic, came out, and as we would say in Guyanese parlance, he dashed a fine busing on Priya Manik-Chan. Michael Rodriguez on his morning show, it's Monday. Somebody sent me a little snippet, so I listened to the thing, expletive-laced thing. And so therefore, he cussed you out in the violence of language and words. And there, it is being said now, Manik-Chan fires back. This is yesterday paper, news source, not paper, news source. Manik-Chan fires back at Guyanese critic over ignorant and vulgar remarks directed at her. Comrade, y'all share this live, share this live, share the live, sit back, share the live. Here how it goes. And this is some news source, Gardner Mosley. Minister of Education Priya Manik-Chan today fired back at social media commentator Michael Rodriguez, or aka Guyanese critic. Well, let me stop and tell you all this, yeah? Y'all listen, man. The aka stands for also known as. So you get first name, they're going to say, in this case, Michael Rodriguez, aka Guyanese critic. There's a particular man who used to work at the lockups at Georgetown. This is not a joke, this is a true story. Work at the lockups of Georgetown. They don't call his name. He calling out you get a list of prisoners. And of course, you get the aliases, also known as. So the man calling out. John Jones, hacker. He called it for his name. Jim Smith, hacker. He called it for his name. And the man went on like that all the time. So AKA to that man wasn't also known as, it was hacker. So I know they get some police on this life who know the character. I don't call his name, please. Don't call his name. Don't embarrass him. The man said, Akka. So in this case, let me go back to this thing. Guyanese, Michael Rodriguez, aka Guyanese cricket, also known as Guyanese cricket, over his profanity-laced tirade against her for her position that social media singer Baby Skello should not have been remanded to jail for a blasphemous libel charge. The Guyanese critic on his social media talk show on Monday morning lashed out at Manik-Chan, hurling a number of expletives and names in her direction. However, he was criticized by many of his viewers and across social media yesterday. Today, Education Minister said Guyanese critic is a bully and people must stand up to him and those like him. Quote, so the Guyanese critic tried to twist what I said in his style. It is what he does. He is not a journalist. He is not credible. I would not bother too much with him, but I would say this. He is a bully, and there are very many bullies like that in our souls and across the country. And to the girls and women who have to put up with with bullies like that, I say, defend yourself and deal with them. End of quote. That is what the Education Minister is reported to have said. Mrs. Manik-Chan said Guyanese must be wary of personalities like Rodriguez and must not tolerate him. She said his attack on her were ignorant, vulgar, and abusive. Quote, all of that makes it a crime against the state under the cybercrime legislation. So if I am to pick myself up and go to the cybercrime unit and make a complaint, he most likely would be charged, Manik-Chan, end of quote, Manik-Chan said. The minister said she does not have the luxury of approaching every issue from an emotive standpoint, but note that persons like Guyanese critic must be isolated. She said if she decides to take the matter up legally, Rodriguez could be granted bail, which would reinforce her point that the law is not applied across the board currently. She said if he is remanded, our comments would be the same as in the case of Baby Skello. that action is excessive. Now let me go through this thing here before bringing CC. CC, I got to enjoy this thing a little bit more. Critic on Monday, cuss out. Let's say cuss out. We're talking about expletives, the F's and the S's and so on. Some people say C, guys say S, right? Cuss you out. Cuss you out. So she came yesterday and she said, but I'm warning Priya, when you said she said that Guyanese, let me quote. So the Guyanese critic tried to twist what I said in his style. It's what he does. He is not a journalist. He is not credible. So says Priya Manichan. Priya, be careful, because if your boss dragged your ear, you saying that critic is not a journalist, you might get yourself in trouble. Because this sure, as we would say in Ghana, that sure, tomorrow, when Tantimore blaze off, critic is likely to be there if he's in the country. So you saying that the vice president got entertained a non-journalist at his so-called press conference, Priya, be careful. You're not going to get off. You're not likely to get off as how you got off when you went to the U.S. ambassador's residence and Busey out. You're not likely to get off so likely, so be extremely careful, be warned. You saying that critic is not a journalist and he's not credible? Are you saying that critic is a bully? Huh? That's what you're saying, Priya? That is what you're saying, that the Guyanese critic, Mikhail Rodriguez, is a bully. He's not a journalist and he's not credible. I saw not so long ago the Guyana Press Association advertised that they're going to have the annual meeting or whether it's semi-annual meeting shortly. I sure the critic can turn up, calling himself a journalist. I sure the critic can turn up. Right? Are you saying that he's not credible, he's not a journalist? Let me hear what's going to happen. And then, before I bring in Mr. Conway, she says that, and I believe, right? Because she says that he has committed, what he did there can be described as a cybercrime. Cybercrime. And she said that if she made, right, all of this makes she said all of that makes it a crime against the state under the cyber crime legislation. I don't know if it's a crime against the state, right? So if I am to pick myself up and go to the cybercrime unit and make a complaint, he most likely would be charged. So why are you not doing that, Priya? As we have been saying, this cybercrime law is only for people who criticize the government and the government supporters. So how can you, the Minister of Education, who is also an attorney at law, tell us, right, that what critic did makes it a crime against the state under the cybercrime legislation? And then you're getting like, so if I am to pick myself up and go to the cybercrime unit and make a complaint, he most likely would be charged. You should do that. You should do that, and let me see where it will go. Remember, Omar Khan, the chief of staff of the Ghanaian Defense Force, or what they call the chief of defense staff, made a complaint to the police about Annette Ferguson, the member of parliament, who said something to him, which he said something in parliament about him, which he deemed to be untrue. And he made a report, and Annette Ferguson was charged under the Cybercrime Act. Remember Sheriff Duncan called a man a trench crapper, right? He said a violation of the Cybercrime Act, charged. Dion Bascom, the police sergeant, made some comments on the social media against his fellow policemen and Mohammed and thing, cybercrime charge, right? Cybercrime charge. Somebody made a comment too about Chase Green, cybercrime crime. So I'm saying it would appear that the only people who are going to be charged with cybercrime is people who are opposition members or perceived to be opposition supporters. But for Priya to tell us, having all that transpired, that if he, first of all, she claimed that he committed cybercrime. But then she's saying that if I am to make a report, make the report. Make the report. I sure it was an opposition person or a person deemed to be in the opposition camp who had made such a statement, cuss you up, in the vilest language on the social media platform, you would have gone, the person would have done be arrested, breakneck speed. By today, the person would have done there before the court. But all you're doing, Priya, is confirming that this cybercrime law, which Anil Nandalal, your Attorney General, said years ago would be repealed and replaced. They haven't repeal them and replace them yet, but they're using it, they're weaponizing it against people who make comments against them. They're weaponizing it. And before I bring in CC, I noted with some interest a statement by the Secretary of State of the U.S. in relation to the same thing. Let me pull it up. You know what? I don't want to. Well, let me bring in Mr. Conway first while I search it, and I don't want to be ad-libbing. I want to read what the Secretary of State said and tell you what I have to say. CC, this matter with Baby Skello and critic cussing out Priya coming out and issuing statement. All the lawyers said that the decision of the magistrate was unjust. What are your views, my brother?
First, I must admit that I hold no brief for Baby Skello. I don't know the person. I heard the words that he mumbled about the place, but I think they were inappropriate, they were offensive, and all kind of words you could find to describe them. But it's presumed innocent until proven guilty. But then when we go into the refusal of bail, this Bail Act number 21 of 2022, it's been operated in the breach. It's clearly stated, section 7.1, I won't go into them, circumstances under which the magistrate can refuse bail. And I went through them minutely, and I didn't see any there that the magistrate could have used to deny bail. I didn't see any. And in my work as a policeman, and I had 39 years, I had cause to deal with bail. And these are the areas, these are the points I used to consider in dealing with bail and granting bail. One, gravity and nature of the offense. Two, weight of evidence. Three, status of the accused. Four, possibility of the person absconding, not turning up, not going to court or reporting to station. And this one is very important. Will the granting of bail defeat the ends of justice? And I was guided by the Constitution and my conscience. These are important points that you need to consider in granting bail, apart from what is written in the law. Section 7.1, the Bail Act. The Bail Act, Section 7.1, made it very clear circumstances under which bail will be refused, and none, for me, cover the magistrate when she refused bail. They went to the High Court, and the High Court put them out $45,000 bail. $45,000 bail, I think Todd and others went before the High Court, and Lamy, and he was granted bail. As simple as that. And only many persons have suffered. You charge people for cybercrime, and next thing, bail refused. They had the nurse, I think she no longer knows, I like to dismiss you, who had a conversation with somebody, and the guy leaked it, and she talked some things which I understand weren't the truth, and she was refused bail. And many persons are on remand when they ought not to be. There need to be a clear, structured bail policy to be enforced by all the members, all the people in the judiciary, including Master. But first thing, simple get charged, bail refuse, bail refuse, bail refuse. Nonsense. And then the minister, let her go to this, let her make a cybercrime report. Let her make a report because critic is one of them. Because he there with the second vice president every Thursday and on all days. Well, like maybe she must be frightened. She's abusing woman. She abused the US ambassador. Maybe she frightened for abuse the vice president. Let her go. I listen to the words that he used. Very offensive. And he could be placed before the court. Should be placed before the court. But may I know what she holding back for? Prayer, go forward and make a report. And a sure action will be taken. It is a cyber crime. But I don't expect him, they don't expect any magistrate to remand him. He even go on bail. He's going bail because he is one of them. He's one of them. And there's who Jack Dio get Ivy Thursday. Jack Dio getting with him. They say he's not a journalist. In Jack Dio mind, he's a journalist. He's a full-out journalist. So I'm saying that they need to look at this bail act and enforce it. And look at some of the points I say mentioned in terms of you will consider before granting bail. Look at section 7.1 and talk about circumstances under which the magistrate can refuse bail.
Thank you very much for that. Very clear, very clear. I found the thing that I'm trying to tell you. Remember I said to you, this cybercrime thing, as soon as you open your mouth, cybercrime. You open your mouth, cybercrime. People in the US, let me be precise. People on social media in the US, using platform, they live in the US, right? They're threatening you. They're doing all kind of things. Now, recently, the United States, the Secretary of State, made a statement, and let me quote it here. He said, it is unacceptable for foreign officials to issue or threaten arrest warrants on U.S. citizens or U.S. residents for social media posts on American platforms while physically present in U.S. soil. The U.S. Secretary of State made such a statement. They said they can threaten, they try to take away the visa and refuse to grant them visa and all of that if they continue with that. I have noted that since then, they stop attack, because almost every Thursday, you say, but Bork, he's a criminal. He's all of this. They charge him with all sort of thing. Even though the man has not been in the States, in the Guyana for years. They give a East Coast address and apply for warrant. They went so far as to send police to United States to serve warrant on Bork. The same thing they did with Melly Mel and others. They sat there, people that are in the States, live in the States, criticizing the government, and the government telling you that is an offense against them, charging them in Guyana, claiming that they commit offense in Guyana, right? Serving warrant and all of that. I noted with interest that since this statement was made by the United States Secretary of State, I think that I can't recall hearing them continue to threaten, I can't recall hearing them continue to threaten. I wonder why. Why don't we continue with this baby Skello thing now? Right? I read the comments from the lawyers and so on. Now, let me read something that a comment that a practicing lawyer in Guyana made. Right? Somebody make a comment, and this is a practicing lawyer of Guyana said. He says here, the quality of representation is a usual indicator of granting or refusing bail. I do believe that this dude, referring to Skello, was under some unusual influence at the time he allegedly committed the act. He seems to express some degree of remorse. His legal representatives, under normal circumstances, should be able to convince the court to grant bail. However, in this case, the prosecution seems to succeed. The magistrate act on the argument presented or the arguments presented To compare different cases under the consideration of different magistrates is a recipe for confusion. I do not agree with what this lawyer said. I do not agree, and I'm going to tell you the reason why. First of all, Mr. Lawyer, you're saying the prosecutor seemed to be, the magistrate acts and argument presented. Not that alone, as my colleague has said to you, arguments are going to be presented, but there's a law, the Bail Act, which spells out circumstances under which the person should be granted bail. And in this case, when we're talking about the baby case, none of those was met, none, right? And then he said that the quality of representation is a usual indicator of granting or refusing bail. That might be so, but the most important consideration is the offense the person is alleged to have committed, right? The offense the person is alleged to have committed should be the primary consideration. Then he said, I agree with this part, is legal representative under normal circumstances should be able to convince the court to grant bail. Under normal circumstances, it is clear that the circumstances existed then, right, were not normal. And let me go on to tell you this. Based on the fact that the magistrate refused to grant baby Skello bail when he appeared in court, the magistrate basically is saying, let me say this, that even the argument that even if the prosecutor did not, even the prosecutor, right? Because I don't know if the prosecutor objected to bail. That was not stated. Whether the prosecutor objected to bail, let's say the magistrate refused bail. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the prosecutor objected to bail. But if the prosecutor objected to bail, the magistrate get a duty to make sure you follow the Bail Act, right? For other duty. So the question is whether the magistrate followed that. Then we go, clearly she did not. Then in refusing bail, the magistrate is saying, let me understand, this is implied. When she refused bail, the magistrate is implying that he's likely to continue to commit the offense. Understand this? The fact that she refused bail, that is one of the things she might have felt, that this man who had apologized for this blasphemous act, which any right-thinking person will tell you, it was ridiculous, reprehensible, right? But she said she's probably thinking that he's likely to continue to commit the offense. She's probably thinking he's not likely to return to court. He is not likely to return to court for if he's granted bail. That he's likely to interfere with the witnesses. She's saying that. She's implying that. I put baby Skello on bail, he's likely to interfere with the witnesses. And before I go on, let me ask, who are the witnesses, or who is the witness in this matter? Who will be the virtual complainant? Who will go to court and give the evidence about that? All these are questions to be asked. All these are questions. Then we go on. So she's saying that he's likely to interfere with the witnesses. And let me go further to say this. The fact that the High Court granted baby Skello bail, $45,000 in representation by Dr. Todd and Mr. Lamy, I think it was. Basically, it's saying, as we have come to see, that the magistrate should $45,000 bail. The magistrate should have never, ever refused bail in the first case. And now that she has done that, the question is going to be asked, is she subject to any form of disciplinary action and the body to deal with her if there is any disciplinary action? It's got to be the Judicial Service Commission. So is a report likely to be made to the Judicial Service Commission? All these lawyers, Manik Chan, Dexter Todd, Sage Gunraj, who's a PPP member in the GCOM, and then you had Ronald Daniels, they have all said that the action by the magistrate was excessive. So what happened? Y'all gonna leave it there? No complaint, no formal complaint will be made to the Judicial Service Commission for the records, even if you know, because the last person, as far as I remember, the last person the Judicial Service Commission took action and dismissed was Geeta Chandan. Here it is. The last person that I recall the Judicial Service Commission took action against and dismissed from the magistracy was Gita Chanda. Yes, that same Gita Chanda, who crossed the other day. I listened to a very good friend of mine on Thursday. He emphasized cross, the crossover. Gita Chandan, as far as my memory goes, is the last person the Judicial Service Commission dismissed from the magistracy. So are they going to take action against Judy Latchman? Are the lawyers who have complained publicly that the action was excessive and therefore unprofessional, are they going to make a complaint to the Judicial Service Commission for disciplinary action to be taken against her? Because basically what they're saying, that the magistrate may have brought the judiciary and the whole justice system into disrepute. That is what they're saying. Because if Priya says Gunraj, Dexter, and Ronald saying that this action by the magistrate is unjustified, excessive, then they might be implying that she has brought the magistracy into disrepute. So you're going to leave it there? Are you going to leave it there? Again, I say God is not a rape place. For I'm not going to leave it right there. Make not nice anything. Priya ain't going to report no cybercrime against critic. And the others are not going to make a formal complaint to the Judicial Service Commission about the conduct of the magistrate. Say I could talk. I am frightened. I tell you all, enough people hiding and the ducking because they're frightened us other thing. I'm not afraid to speak the truth. I am not afraid to speak the truth. I call it as I see it. And that is what I'm saying. This matter. And that's to show justice is dispensed in this country, you know. There's no doubt in my mind, no doubt in my mind, that the magistrate acted in excess of her jurisdiction and all that. Unreasonable. And if she acted unreasonable, you can't allow it to go like that. You should not allow it to go like that. And you know, in this country, Carl Guyana, people don't resign, you know. People don't resign. In other jurisdiction, the pressure would have been so severe that the magistrate would have been forced to pack up your trap and go. Pack up the trap and go. Right? So, and I'm saying too, let me make this point, because remember, I was the chairman of a constitutional commission, the Police Service Commission. So I'm suggesting that even without the report from people to the Judicial Service Commission, this thing in the public domain, what has transpired is in the public domain. Should the Judicial Service Commission not initiate some type of inquiry, write to somebody to ask and say, what has happened there? Let me get a report. I did that when I was the chairman of the Police Service Commission. I saw things in the media that weren't reported, and the commission will write to the Commissioner of Police and say, look, we saw this thing in the media. Please update us. Give me a report. So I would expect, if you have a proper functioning Judicial Service Commission, they will do just that. In the absence of the lawyers or anybody else initiating a report to them about the conduct of the magistrate, they too can be proactive. That is my view. I don't know what the relevant law say. If the relevant law says so, then the statement the lies and us is apt, right? So that is what I want to say about that matter. Let me bring in Mr. Conway if you want to say anything more about this baby Skello and bail and the action of the magistrate and all that before we move on. CC, anything more you want to say on that?
Just to summarize, my honest opinion is that the magistrate refusing to grant bail to baby Skello was not based on legal issue, but was based on a religious issue. I want to believe it's a religious issue and not no legal issue. And I leave it at that.
Yeah, thank you. We're leaving it at that. It couldn't be the law. Couldn't have been following the law. They have to have other extraneous circumstances that came in for that decision to be taken. That to have been. Now let me say this. Moving. Well, I'm going to link comments made by Priya. Yeah, share the live. We have well over 2,000 people watching. Share the live. This is on one platform. Share the live. I'm going to link what we're going to talk about next with the some statement made by Priya in our fireback at the critic. It relates to DV. She talked about domestic violence. She talked about domestic violence, and she said, right, that you get people. She said I would not bother with too much with him, but I would say this: he's a bully, and there are very many bullies like him in households across the country. And to the girls and women who have to put up with the bullies like that, I say defend yourself and deal with them. And then she go on to talk about the domestic violence and all other things that takes place. She said that in the original statement. She talked about domestic violence, and all of that. Now let me say this. Let me say this, right? Oh yeah, let me read the part. She said the bench needs to be consistent and sensible in its application of the law. We are jailing someone for mumbling or trying to sing something offensive against a female goddess, which is terrible and should never be encouraged or listened to, and which I personally condemn. But the court is failing to address speedily domestic violence matters where women are at the mercy of the court, and failing to address matters of cyberbullying and all of that, where she claimed where women's nude photographs are published online without their consent, and other truly egregious crimes against women. Look, let me tell you this. I fully agree. When it comes to domestic violence, right? When it comes to domestic violence, the old book should be thrown at those violators, the old book. And we know in Guyana, domestic violence is very prevalent. It leads to murder. Many women in particular are killed. Abusive relationships, women are killed. We had one on the East Bank not so long ago. The man shoot the woman and she 2 daughters. We had the one with Gali Khan, a deportee, a drug convict deported from the US. He's senior functionary in a security company. He get firearm and all that. Shoot and kill the woman across the river. Right? So a lot of violence that leads to death of women. And yet still, proper action is not being taken. Who can forget? Not so long ago. Let me pull it up here, man. Let me pull it up here. Y'all share the live. Not so long, but 2 or 3 weeks ago. Remember I told you all earlier about a man named Amir Hamad, the man who gave Ikin $8.5 million for finance Brutus' wedding. His wife, Amir Ahmad's wife, about 3 weeks ago or so, went to the Brigdam police station and made a complaint that they had some argument and he took some object and he assaulted her. She went to the police station and she made that report about 3 weeks ago. You know, I get me receipts. You know, I saw the report. The police made an occurrence at Brigham, and then they sent a message to Providence. I think they live in Providence district. Up to now, no action has been taken. This is a man who has displayed all sorts of erratic behavior. His wife reports that he assaulted her. They know he get gun or he access the gun. They ended nothing yet. That's the type of thing that $8.5 million can buy. $8.5 million can buy that. We have reports here over the past couple of days. Just 2. They got one, a guard granted $100,000 bail on domestic violence. That's reported on the 10th of June in Stabrook News. He granted $100,000 bail, domestic violence. We had the next one here where they say East Coast woman living in fear as cops yet to arrest husband who stabbed her last month. This is on the 9th of June. And they have other matters, domestic violence. Appropriate action is not taken. They're waiting for these women to be killed, you know. They're not taking. And it's the system we're talking about. The system. And, you know, I say that to say that the police are many times to be blamed. People have said, you have seen many, many letters that police are not taking the appropriate action. And then in this particular case, with Amir Ahmad, alleged to have assaulted his wife about 3 weeks ago, the police action was inappropriate. All they do, they take an occurrence and they tell you, they send the matter to Providence. No, that is not the correct police action. Even the occurrence that they took, I saw the occurrence. Not detailed enough. Not detailed enough, the occurrence that they took. And again, you can't blame some of them, it's lack of training. Sometimes that's how they were trained to do it. But, I get Ulrich and all these guys on the line, Danny and Vibort will tell you that when you make an occurrence, you have to get the details in the occurrence. I mean, it's not a statement. We got to make sure that facts, anybody can read the occurrence and get an idea of exactly what is being reported. And then, let me say this, police. Because, I ain't going to say that they did not take the correct action. I'm going to go further to say what action should have been taken. This is the teaching part. Yeah, she came to Brigham. She made a report. You entertained the occurrence. You made an occurrence in the book. The woman alleged that she was struck with an object. Come right away, medical. Immediately, is medical. And when we talk about medical, she asked to be escorted to get medical attention with a medical certificate. And let me understand, police. We say she has to be escorted by a police rank, not sent to get medical, you give you a medical form and say, go to the doctor. No, that is not the correct approach. You have to escort her. Some police will have to escort her to the hospital to get medical examination, to be medically examined. Doctor will write the medical certificate. The police will collect the medical certificate. And when you return to station, the police who escorted her is required to give a statement. You have to write a statement to say that he escorted this complainant to the hospital to get medical attention, and she received no further injuries along the way. That is critical. But now, it has crept in for a long time now, where somebody makes a report, there are signs of injury, whether there are signs of injury or not, they give them a medical and say, go to the doctor. That is not the correct procedure. A police should escort the person to the hospital to get the doctor, because in some places not hospital, GM, government medical officer, to get a medical certificate. And when you get back to station, that police who did the escort will write that during from the time the person left the station and received medical attention, they received no further injury. That is critical, because you give the person a medical, say, go to the hospital. Who is to say that the person would not receive additional injuries from the time they left the police station to the time they are examined by the doctor? Sometimes deliberate, self-inflicted injuries, all because they want to give the person more trouble. So that is what should have happened. And also, not only escorting the person to the thing and getting the statement, but take a statement. Again, the nature of the injury, you might got to escort right away. But you should have taken a statement from the complainant, a detailed statement. So when you forward the matter to whichever police station, you're forwarding the in-transit report along with statement and medical. You got to lock off this thing right away, because you know that if you don't do that, maybe the person can go and say they can change their mind and somebody come for makeup. So you want to put yourself in the clear. Get what you have to get and deal with it. And let me say this before bringing CC. Some years ago, when I was in the force, this domestic violence thing, we had tried to address it. And certain instructions, I remember there's even some law that came into being, which allows for third parties. So if you know that somebody has been abused, you don't have to wait for the abused person to make the report. A third party can make the report, if I remember correctly, right? And we had mandated that when a domestic violence report is made, you get a statement, you get medical where necessary, court. It's not you, the police, or even if the complainant say, well, look, there are some says they're making up, and let the court decide. There's not for the police to decide. Once a complaint is made to the police in domestic violence cases in particular, let the court decide. Send it to the court. So because if the person goes to court and they say, well, I don't want to give evidence against my husband or for whatever reason, the court still has the power to put certain restrictions on the person and so on, put you on ban for good behavior and all of those type of things. All of that. Do you know in the domestic violence, if I remember again correctly, in the Domestic Violence Act, in a case like that against Amir Ahmad, the court can evict him from the house where this abuse is taking place. Put you out in your own house and let the wife has control. And if it's a rental house, you put you out the house and demand and direct that he must pay the rent, even though he doesn't live there anymore. All of that are the powers of the court. If I remember correctly, and I'm sure that I'm right, well, what happened? This type of training doesn't go on any longer. We had several persons. We had this female assistant commissioner retired recently. She was one of the leading persons going around and teaching police how to deal with domestic violence. But what happened to all them things now? What has happened to all of those things now? You ain't hearing nothing. You're not hearing anything. And then hear this. CC, allow me. Can't move off before. When I talk about domestic violence, well, Andrew, it don't happen, but the law is there, eh? It is there. Well, yeah, Sean, Jackie Opel come to pay. But I'm making the point that Priya talking about domestic violence, but again, Amir Ahmad, one of the supporters, who allegation was made that he assaulted his wife. The wife made the report, and that ain't happening. But the law is there to take care of it, right? Now let me make the point here too when I talk about domestic violence. And perhaps this is why they want to deal with domestic violence. I saw a report from the president recently. This is Stabrook News on June 11th, 1 week ago. President announces new tech program to address violence against women. Hear this. I can read it for yourself. I got time to read out the whole thing here today. President announced new tech program to address violence against women. And they're saying, addressing the graduates, he said, in the coming days, I will be launching a new program for women. As I told you and the country, we'll be using technology to its fullest. And you will hear about that program that will help us all, help all of us to aggressively deal with violence against women. A massive technology program. That is what the president is reported in Stabrook News, June 11th, to have said. They like this technology thing. Technology for deal with violence against women. I guess that can include domestic violence as well. But who can forget? And if you forget, let me remind you that the first lady at the time, Vashni Singh Jagdeo, had alleged that the president at the time, Bharat Jagdeo, right, used high-tech domestic violence against her. I just sit back, man. I just do the research, you know. I get good memory. And then when the thing trigger, I just go and do the research and find the thing. Right? It says here, and this was reprinted, Kaichor News of April the 23rd, 2025. Then it says, the line is, after 6 years, Jagdeo speaks out on wife abuse. After 6 years, Jagdeo speaks out on wife abuse. And then let me read some excerpts here. They said, though he was not asked, Jagdeo volunteered. Quote, I saw they said that I beat my wife. You can ask her. Let me make it clear to everyone. I have never touched, physically abused a single woman in my entire life, including my wife. So, continue quoting. So that is clear. I can say it here. Never, ever. I fought with my older sister when they used to beat me up a few times, but that was when I was 10 years old. Outside from that, I have never, ever touched a single woman. He stressed. That is right, Jagdeo. Why am I going to ask you about this tomorrow? So outside of that, when he fought with his sister, he never touched a single woman. Well, that is ripe with all sorts of interpretations and so on. He said he never touched a single woman. Here it goes on. Let me read some more before I think. When former First Lady Vashti Singh spoke out in 2009 about what she called institutionalized or high-tech domestic violence, she spoke of our fears and insecurities living in a country where our oppressors at his hand, or oppressor at his hand in every facet of day-to-day functioning of the country. She said, I'm picking pieces. It was after she was locked out. Yeah, what I said. This, she said, had put her in a precarious position for which she could not escape. It was after she was locked out of State House that the former First Lady documented in great detail her decade-long experience of verbal and emotional abuse by Jagdeo. She said that during their marriage, she was not allowed to work and did not receive proper maintenance or care, financial or otherwise. The office of the First Lady was one she dubbed a myth. She had stated that she and Jagdeo had a deal before getting married and that they would work together to move Ghana forward, but that never happened. Saying that, then she went on to say, he found my work embarrassing and me annoying. The First Lady of every country in the world, when they are helpful, are treated with respect and are given full backing of their husband and the nation. She said, hear what she's saying. This is not me. I read it in the paper. Singh said she had been isolated and alone for 2 years. Quote, she's been quoted here now. If I wasn't home by 6 p.m., the apartment door will be locked with a latch from the inside, so my key could not open it. When I was locked out, I would have to spend the night on a sofa on the first floor with a sheet, praying for the night to end quickly, Singh said. And she said some other thing. Mosquito eating she outside. Mosquito was eating her outside, right? Then she go on to say, let me read a little bit more. The former First Lady had not alleged physical abuse. She claimed that Jagdeo had decided not to punish her. Let me read it back. She claimed that Jagdeo had decided not to punish her. Quote, he would withhold all resources, financial or otherwise, and line my path with a multitude of cruel, selfish obstacles, end of quote. Then he go on to say, it is funny, and start to hear the politicians talk about the campaign against domestic violence, investing millions to stamp it out, etc. When what I'm experiencing is high-tech domestic violence and persecution. Then our then president is using his office and state resources, including ministers, unprofessionally to disadvantage a woman. Quote, I have been deprived of basics for many years. My food is taken care of by my aunt, who has a shop. My clothing, money, and everything else is from my parents and family, she said. Later, that attempt to gain independence would somehow eventually need his approval on the business front, on the job front. I was told that no one would employ me for fear of backlash from our president. Comrade, these people talking about domestic violence. Enough talk, as Vashti Singh Jagdeo said, enough talk. A lot of talk. Some Priya come out and talk about domestic violence, right? You get Amir Ahmad, as I've said, wife make a report that he assaulted her, and what has happened? You didn't see the court yet, right? The First Lady since then. So when the president come and talk about how they're gonna put in, what you say, we're gonna thing to help aggressively deal with violence against women, a massive technology program. All talk, all BS, right? Because according to what Vashti Singh said, State House, the official residence of the president, is where the abuse and the domestic violence was evident. What have they done? What did they do? And they're coming out, believe people can forget. A lot of people forget because some people, I guess some of you that were very young at the time, and people get up so many things to do, they might tend to forget. I ain't gonna forget. I ain't gonna forget because I say, if you really want to talk about domestic violence, all them senior people and so on who are beaten up and then police can't do nothing, them are the ones you got to start with. You got to set the example. You have got to set the example. Put a couple of them big ones before the court, and people might get the message. But I said now, the domestic violence thing, whenever any action is taken, is against some poor man down the end. He know he's not related to Jackie Opel, so nothing happens. Let me bring in CC. I had a long go on this. Let me bring in CC, man. CC, I know you want to get your piece. Go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, and I'll talk a bit about domestic violence because I know the police had a an excellent SOP dealing with domestic violence, but perhaps that has gone through the window. Now, Tessa could bear me out. Tessa G, I think she on the line there. Where it all started when they had a Canadian export named, I think Morphe came, Keso export. And she started with what we call no, we call it spousal abuse. They started with spousal abuse. And later on, they said, hey, it is broader than spousal abuse. It is domestic violence, not only husband and wife, children, aunts, uncle, the whole family involved. And then we contracted a very powerful and a very wonderful person, Dr. Janice Jackson. She was a psychologist to do to put up domestic violence with us. And she did some tremendous research. And she established together with us a SOP, a manual dealing with domestic violence. We train a whole lot of police, and all the training programs there had a domestic violence input. Everyone in each division, we had domestic violence trainer, and we had to take domestic violence very seriously. Even the commanders at their monthly meeting, they call them executive leadership team. We were senior management meeting. We had to report on domestic violence. It was on the agenda priority. The among the domestic violence reports we use, the action taken, process in court, position and things like that. You had to deal with domestic on report on a monthly basis when you go thing. And no reason make up any case. As you mentioned, Paul, as long as domestic violence, go to court. Charge and go to court, and let them go in the witness box and tell him they don't want any further things. So there's a SOP there. I know what to do with it. And each training program had a domestic violence input. Person were trained, and we trained the trainers to train domestic violence. It was priority. But I know what's happening now. And I listened to, no, I saw the occurrence sometime after in relation to Ahmad White's report. And it wasn't properly written up, Paul, as you mentioned. There is nothing in there. It's kind of open. I'll tell you, woman, hey, that they're sending it to Providence, and she must go to Providence. As you mentioned, she had to be escorted. And I talk about escorting, you mean that you find a female to escort her, and records got to be made in the occurrence in the station diary at so and so time. This person left on duty escorting this body in vehicle number 1999, driven by this body. And when they return, there's documentation. The documentation in the station diary. There's documentation in the occurrence book, and they will correspond. And as you mentioned, it's that the person got to the person will be examined in your presence by the doctor, and you give evidence in the court that during the journey from the police station to the hospital, the person received no further injuries. He's going court, and you give that evidence. I give evidence that the doctor wrote it up, signed his name in your presence. You went back to station, and you made an entry in the property book. You lodged the medical certificate. We ain't going on so day. You uplifted the medical certificate, and you bring it to court. And ask for you to turn in evidence. There's so much things that we used to pay in terms of the emphasis of dealing with domestic violence, because it's end up in murder. If you not treat them properly, we'll end up in murder, in serious injuries. But I know what's going on now. I'm repeating that the commanders on a monthly basis had to report on domestic violence, the number of reports, the position of the cases, the number of cases pending in court, and all sort of thing. And apart from that, the commissioner had to report to the minister, and the minister, I think, used to report to cabinet on a monthly basis in terms of domestic violence. But those things have gone right through the window. And the one with Ahmad, well, nobody charged. We ain't hear anything about it. Jackie Opel come into play, and they be $8.5 million, mean you have preferential treatment. But they need to get back to the system, go back to the SOP dealing with domestic violence. Go back to the SOP that dealing with domestic violence. But apparently, they dash those things through the window.
Yeah, the point is it's hypocritical for them to come now and talk about domestic violence and the president making statement how they're going to deal with. The thing is there. Well, you got a dunce like Ikin, and then the whole training system broke down. What do you expect? Huh? What do you expect? Right? You have the same prayer we're talking about domestic violence. She colleague, Dharam Lal, who is alleged to have raped and boggled the little girl and raped an ex-woman. He stood up in parliament with the others and tell another female parliamentarian, you want a dildo. The NC has been objectionable and offensive too, to take action. She there in parliament and they are like rape, and all them type of things. All of those things, what you expect? Well, I'm going to call them out. We are going to call them out because they come and give this impression that they're so pious and they want to make sure that everything is right. They come and talk about domestic violence. Jack Dio is accused of committing domestic violence against his wife. The vice president, the man who running the PPP and the country now. And what happened? Nothing happened. Nothing happened. So y'all come now and the president telling people about high-tech thing to deal with violence against women and all them things. It's share BS, it's share talk, election time, so then come with us and talk. But you live by the record, and that is what we're going to reveal, the record. We're going to come to show you what the record is. Can't fool we. We get the record. And this thing about domestic violence, it is I vex bad when I hear they talking about all of these things. Because as CC said, oh, somebody disturbing me, As CC said, the programs, the SOP, I remember very well. Once a domestic violence report is made, let the court decide it. No police, you take the statement, you get medical where necessary, and nobody else coming back to the police and say, well, you don't want any further action. That's not a police job. There's a magistrate to deal with it. Because as I've said, even if, I think this is the law, that even if the abused party decide that they don't want any further action, the magistrate has the authority to do a lot of things. Put you out of your own house. We used to debate the thing. If you live in you the man live there, you're violent against your family and thing, that you go to court, and the party who's been directly affected doesn't necessarily have to initiate the action. So strong was this piece of legislation, a third party. In many cases, you just send them to red trade or send them one of those places, let them give them counseling and guide them what to do. They can put you out of your own house. The court has an authority. Move out. Move out. Right? If it's a rental house, you move out, you still got to pay the rent. All of those things were included. We used to teach the police that. And for a time, I think it was gaining momentum because not only teaching the police, but make sure that you're enforcing the law. And when those things were publicized, a lot of the potential abusers will get to understand that the society is not in favor of that type of behavior. But what happened now? They're coming now. Ma beat up your wife got to the station and nothing happened. And people complain bitterly. People say with a lot of these domestic violence cases, because they make complaint before, you're checking the thing, complaints were made before, but what the police going to tell you now? Oh, we make a complaint, and before we put the matter before the court, the party came back and said they don't want any further action. We said, no, that is not the SOP. They can't come back and tell you the police don't want no further action. That's so the court, they got to go to the court and tell the court that. And then the court will decide what action is to be implemented. That is what it is. That is what it is. But they come down and they talk all of this nonsense and to try to impress people that they are doing something. Try to impress people. Now, of course, before bringing Mr. Conway for his closure, a troublesome student there asking me a question: who is the senior officer who they say shoot at some woman and so on? You got to do your own investigation for that student. So it happens sometime over the weekend or sometime there that they say a senior officer, right? Some sweet woman he get, and you see the sweet woman with some other man, and they say he bust shot either at she or in the ear or whatever it is, but he's alleged to have fired rounds from his pistol. He's alleged to have fired rounds from his pistol, right? That is what's going on. Now, let me bring in CC for his closing. I know you're going to be brief because we are already out of time, and we're going to tell you how they look forward. CC, you're closing, my brother.
Well, two things. The senior officer, I know for sure that Suku will not be investigating a matter. I repeat, Suku will not be investigating a matter. Now, let me just go back briefly to the domestic violence. We are training, and Paul, remember, the assistant commissioners, had to be in the classroom and get training. Janice Jackson, you were there, Whittaker was there, Celia Pusal were as senior officers, and then we realized something that we were misusing the word sex. That instead of sex, we should have been using gender. And it brought me to a story where a young applicant accent put me in a hell of a position because he applied to join the police force, and on the form that we had, they had a question to answer, sex, and we had F is female and M for male. And when I examined the thing, he circled female. So I say, are you a male or a female? I said, Skipper, what are you going to ask me though? Me's a full of male. I think he had about 10 CXC. I said, well, you understand, this what does F stands for? It's a female. What does M stands for? Male. I said, well, how you circle F, how you circle female? And he just saw me know about you. Well, me's a full out man. And I don't sex female. I don't sex male. That's why I circle the F. I'm going to stop at that.
Good to stop at that, yes. So, yeah, again, students, we had a whole set of thing this morning. Chances some people would never, and all of that. This domestic violence matter is something I would think we'd want to continue. You know that we haven't been able to even touch on the Adriana Young's matter today, because I think it is important that we feel it's not that is taken backstage. We're going to talk about it when we come again. We are going to talk about it because the information is that she's going to be buried on Sunday. And we are going to have a program, God's willing, Friday afternoon. We're going to have the program Friday afternoon, and we are going to talk about that. So for the student who want to know who is the senior officer who take the $50 million and shoot that woman and so on, keep digging, man. Keep digging. You're going to find out is who. Ahuda say Ahuda when me say Ahuda. Right? That is where you're going to find out. That is what is going on. Domestic violence. And remember, when we talk about domestic violence, it doesn't necessarily mean physical violence, slap and cuff or lash, allegedly like Amir Ahmad. You're going to take object and knock somebody. You lock out the woman out the house, as the first lady alleged Jack Dio did. That is domestic violence. You deprive her of certain basic stuff. That is domestic violence. And the woman said he never took care of her financially or otherwise. That is violence. Y'all interpret or otherwise however you want to interpret. That is what the then First Lady is alleged to have said. I think it was at Pegasus she gave the interview. The records are there. I tell you, all this research thing is a wonderful thing, and we will continue. These two geriatric, we get a time for we're going to continue to research and bring you the credible, valuable information. We're going to do that. Now, today's what we just call it? What we just say? Today therapy is a little different. I want to show you all this picture and hear what y'all have to say. This is a picture. This picture here is of the president at a recent function. This is the president. Some CARICOM in Brazil or something like that. And the president. Somebody asked him if it's a circus. I said, well, I don't know circus. The man just like if you go into a circus. But that is the dress of the president. I think he looked better than Mark Phillips and Robeson Ben. Right? Mark Phillips, I have to laugh when I see this thing. I want to know, where is the fashion police? Where is the fashion police? And don't come and tell me as some of the sycophants can say, yeah, I'm thinking the man dress. When he goes abroad or he goes anywhere, he's representing Guyana. And I don't want people to believe all men in Guyana dresses like that. No. Fashion police should have come in there with siren blazing and arrest the man. Fashion police should have come there and arrest the guy. Look at our president. The thing looks so clungish. The thing looks so clungish. So you have to come after me. That's my view. He looks clungish in that picture. Folks, we have had a long day. One of the students just commented and said, we rip it today. We rip it today. Thanks for that, Dennis. Let me say this, we had a long morning. We have so many other things to tell you about, as we would always say. We can come Friday afternoon. Because we don't want these things left back. And I can guarantee you that between now and Friday, new issues are going to come out. Going to come up. New issues are going to come up. We're going to bring them to your attention. So, folks, until we meet again, Friday, God Spare Life, I want you to remember what I'm saying. You have to stay well. Protect yourself at all times, as the referee will tell the boxers. Be safe. COVID, dengue, road accidents, everything that is bad happening. And they're going to come and they're going to paint this picture, this nice picture. They try to whitewash things, that everything is hunky-dory. All things nice and beautiful. All creatures great and small. You know that Sunday school song? That is what they're going to want to come and tell you. Don't be gullible, don't be fool. Don't be gullible, don't be fool. I want to say this before I leave. Crystal ball. I almost forgot. So I'm going to take a next extra minute or so and say. To the opposition parties, as I've said before, be extra careful. To the what I call to the Team Mohammed, you have to be 10 times more careful. Right? Not only in terms of your physical well-being, in terms of your campaign. I am predicting, the crystal ball tell me, that GCOM and the PPP will do everything humanly possible to interfere with the campaign by Team Mohammed, including trying to find reasons not to have them on the ballot for this election where they say September coming up, even though up to now they haven't dissolved parliament. Listen to me carefully. They're going to do everything. So caution y'all. When it comes to nomination day and all sort of thing, make sure all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted properly. Because you're going to suddenly find, they're going to say, well, this body ineligible, this body can't run. They're going to put all type of obstacles in your way. Because despite what they are saying, they see Team Mohammed as a big threat. They're going to sit down and they're going to say, oh, you don't think about Team Mohammed, but yes, still they're going to talk about it. So that tells a story. They don't see it as a threat, but they keep talking about it. And I'm saying this, they're going to do everything. Don't be surprised if you hear they find other charges for Azzuddin Mohammed and other members of Team Mohammed. Do not be surprised. Do not. That is what the ball is telling me. They are the GRA charges. They get other. They're going to find things to keep Azzuddin Mohammed off the ballot. They're going to do all they can do. GCOM going to find some law or some regulation to say, well, this body can't go. This thing wasn't properly submitted. All of that they're going to do. So I caution you all to be extremely careful and get your people. I know you ain't got the experience. Get your people to make sure that they go through this thing with a fine-teeth comb and make sure that all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. I couldn't leave today without telling you that. So again, God's Free Life, Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock. We'll see you for another episode. Until then, stay well. Bye.